Let's make my Twilight Bayou quilt pattern using a charm pack and some background fabric. Charm packs are 5-inch squares, and for this pattern you will need 168 5-inch squares and 1 yard of background fabric, yielding a 54-inch by 67.5-inch quilt. Feel free to use a layer cake, which are 10-inch squares, and trim them down to a 5-inch square instead. With your background fabric, you will cut 96 2 3/4-inch squares and 12 5-inch squares. Then with your 2 3/4-inch squares, draw a 45-degree line from corner to corner using a fabric marking tool on the wrong side of the fabric. Now it's time to create our blocks. Take a print 5-inch square and place a 2 3/4-inch square on the bottom right corner. Right sides together and pay close attention to the 45-degree line that you just drew. Then you're going to sew on the line you drew, and afterwards take a pair of fabric scissors or use a rotary cutter to cut the remaining excess off a 1/4 inch away. Now we will repeat the same thing to the bottom left corner. You'll start by taking a background 2 3/4-inch square and place them right sides together on the bottom left corner. Once again, pay close attention to the 45-degree line you drew and then sew on the line, followed by taking a pair of fabric scissors or a rotary cutter and trimming a 1/4 inch away. You'll repeat this step and make a total of 48 blocks, and your block will remain as a 5-inch square. This quilt pattern is built off of 2 quilt blocks. For your first quilt block, we will create a scrappy star 9 patch. You will take 4 of those blocks we just created, 4 print 5-inch squares, and 1 background 5-inch square. Place your blocks like so, and then you'll sew your blocks together into rows and sew your rows together to complete your scrappy star 9 patch block, measuring 14 inches square. You'll make a total of 12 scrappy star 9 patch blocks. With the remaining 5-inch squares, we are going to sew them together into a scrappy 9 patch. You'll place the 9 5-inch squares in a 3x3 layout. You'll sew your blocks together into rows and sew your rows together to complete your scrappy 9 patch block, measuring 14-inch square. For this block, you will make a total of 8 scrappy 9 patch blocks. Now that all of your blocks are complete, it's time for the fun part. There are no rules here. This is where you'll improv and mix up your blocks in a 4x5 layout. This pattern was designed to sprinkle stars randomly around the quilt, just like the stars in the sky. Now stay towards the end to see a photo of where I placed my star blocks, just to give you an idea. Then, as always, sew your blocks together to form rows, and lastly, sew your rows together to complete your quilt top. Here is what my Twilight Bayou quilt pattern looks like all finished. For the backing, I am using a matching print from the collection. Then for the thread choice, I am going with glide threads in the color Anchor. And here is what my quilt looks like all quilted. Once again, 4 charm packs equaling to 168 5-inch squares and 1 yard of background fabric will yield you a 54-inch by 67.5-inch quilt. But if you could please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be notified for your next amazing quilt project.